this exercise we're going to take a look at creating the drawing file for exercise P4-14. So here I have everything lined up. Now one thing that I will say, based on what we discussed last week, the way that this was dimensioned in the book, with the height of 32 for these and the height of 48 for this, we're going to get some slightly off dimensions, which is something that I'll address as we go through here, but I just want to talk about the main process for creating the drawings. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the new button, just like we did last time, and we'll use the NC millimeter IDW, and I'm going to click on base view. And for this, I've got my front view. I'm going to go ahead and attempt scaling this one up just to see if it will fit on the paper. So I've got my front view, I drag out to the right, left click, I have my right side view, drag up, left click, I've got my top view, and then I'm going to put my isometric up here in the corner. Right click, hit create. Now I want to double click on my isometric view, and I want to make it shaded, but I want to take the scale back down also. That way it's smaller and doesn't take up as much of my screen, because I'm probably going to be needing some parts of that a little bit later on. Now, one of the things in here is you'll notice in my part file I don't have the fillet on the back side of this, so what I want to do is I want to use the information that I have, go back to P4-14, and I'm just going to orbit around here and go to my fillet command, fillet with the radius of 5 millimeters, and I'm going to put it in right here and right here, say apply, save my file, and go back to my drawing file. And what you'll notice is that it automatically puts those fillets in. So the drawing is going to be something that is going to be automatically updated regardless of what we do. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and switch to my annotate tab, and I'm going to add some of my center lines. I want center lines here, 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 we'll do here, and I'm not going to put in any other center lines. I could put in my center lines on this, but we're going to start to talk a little bit about the way that we create views and how we use views. So the first thing I want to do is I want to begin dimensioning. So I'm going to go to dimension, I'll do an overall width dimension on this, I'll do an overall height dimension on this particular piece, I'll do the thickness of this, and one of the things that I may want to do to make this a little bit clearer is either add a note that says material 5 thick or put 5 all around. There's a lot of different things I can do, but I'm not going to necessarily concern myself with those right now. This 5 is going to work. I do want to put an R5 on here. Hit escape to get out of my dimension command, highlight that or double click that, and put TYP in parentheses to let me know that that's typical. And then I'm going to take and dimension this thing part by part. I want to dimension this piece, then I want to dimension this piece, and then we'll talk about these holes. So let me come in here, we'll begin dimensioning with this edge right here, and then I'm going to bring out this edge, lining it up with the previous one, and then the overall. Okay, now after I create those dimensions, I may decide that I want to put the other dimensions in here a little bit, so I can move these out a little bit just so that I've got all the information that I need and I can fit everything that needs to fit. Now I can place a dimension from the center line to here of 8. I can place my dimension from here to here of 8. I can place my dimension of the diameter of 8 right here, hit escape, come back in here, 2 places, say OK. And what you'll notice is that a lot of my dimensions are now in place, and in the book it shows putting 2 places on this and 2 places on this. One of the things that we can do is I can grab this center line and drag it up to here. That eliminates the need to put 2 places after this, and just for clarity purposes I am actually going to place another dimension right here so that I don't have to add the words two places and find out how that's going to fit. So by extending my center line and adding a dimension, I was able to put that in. Now I can go ahead and place, let me go ahead and take this out, and I'll go ahead and add the two places since I have room right here. And then what I'll do is I'll just drag this down a little bit so that it's not interfering with my other dimension. Now I can place the last dimension that I need, which is a dimension of 15 right here, and then we will do a dimension right here of 25. So those are all the dimensions I need to actually lay out this section of this part. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm pretty much going to recreate what I had up there over here. I'm going to put a dimension on here for this at 16. We'll put this in here at 28. I do want to move this down a little bit and move this down. I don't need the overall because I had that on the previous one. So I can place a dimension in here of 8. And again, I'll do 8 on this side as well. And then a dimension from here to here of 8. This dimension here is going to be 10. So we can see we almost have all the information that we need to actually lay out the part. I'm going to go ahead and add another dimension over here rather than typing two places for this particular part. And then I'm going to add this 20 in right here. Come out to this side, and I'll put in diameter 6, change that up to 2 places, and say OK. So now we've got all of this information detailed, we've got all of this information detailed, and we have our overall heights and stuff like that detailed. So now we're ready to focus on these 4 holes. These 4 holes, the best approach for these 4 holes is going to be to go back to Place Views and select an auxiliary view based on this view, and this is the line that I want to project from. So I'll click this, and I'm going to drag this out right up into here, just so that it fits. And go back to my Annotate tab. Now, if I put in center lines, they're going to automatically align to where I want them to align to. Now, it's at this point that I can place a dimension from my center line to the side, and it gives me a nice clean dimension of 20. Well, that's a whole lot better than the no dimension that's given in the book. So I place those two at 20, and now's where I'm going to get some weird dimensions. When I click here to here, it's going to give me something like 15.95, which could technically be accurate. The thing of it is based on the dimensions in the book, 15.95 is about as close as we're going to get. So I'll place the dimensions for these two, and now we have 21.26. Now, technically these dimensions would be really difficult for any machinist in the world to place. So if we were going to be doing this one not based on the book, what we would probably do is take the length that this is given at 53.15, divide it by 3, and then round to the closest whole number for the location of these actual holes. But since we're going with what we have in the book, these are the two dimensions that we have, and it is much easier for a machinist to measure from here to here at close to 16 than it is for them to measure from here to the center of a hole that they haven't created yet on this face. So, still in my dimension command, I'm going to go ahead and place a dimension right here, diameter 12, double click that, and we'll put 4 places for this one here. So in this particular activity, we took a look at creating our main views, but also adding an auxiliary view, which you'll have to do on another one of the assignments to locate some holes. But this can get kind of cluttered, and we're starting to break normal convention with technology. Normal convention says all this needs to be in here, all this needs to be in here. Well, for this auxiliary view, I don't necessarily need hidden lines, so I'm going to double click this view, uncheck style from base, and turn off the hidden lines. It's going to make it a lot clearer and easier to understand. I can even come into, say, this view, for example, right here, where I've got all of this stuff shown but not used. I can go back to my views and hit crop, and then just crop out that entire portion of the view that I'm not using. The thing of it is if I do that, I want to double click back on the view, and then I want a view identifier to go in here that is going to be partial top. And then by doing that and turning on this little light bulb here, it'll display the visibility and everything. When I say OK, I can now see that that's a partial top view, which is the indicator to the user that this is not a complete view. And I may want to do the same thing over here for the right side view. I might want to say, I don't want to see all this information, so I'm going to go ahead and crop this thing. So there's my crop. And then I would want to put in the same thing like I did here, partial right side view. I'm going to go ahead and leave the right side view intact, but my other option would be to come in here and turn off the hidden lines, because they're not really adding anything to the actual understanding of the drawing for me. It's just adding additional confusion by having in those hidden lines. So there's a lot of things that we can do in our drawings very quickly, very cleanly, and very neatly using the technology that we have. But again, once you're done, you're satisfied with your drawing, you go to the big eye, export, and you're going to export it to a PDF in the same folder that everything else for this particular exercise is in, and that PDF file is what you're going to submit.